cannot hear. Paris, am I audible now? Kindly, Meenu, please check your bandwidth because the other people are able to hear me. Bhavna, please check your bandwidth again. On XAT Essay Writing. Today our agenda is very simple. We are going to discuss about a few things. First is, what is the importance of the essay when it comes to the selection in the institutes which are related to that. We'll also be talking about the techniques to write essays, and I'll also be throwing some light on the past year topics. Of course, I will not give you the material on that. That is something which you will have to. Is there a lot of background noise? Music? I don't think so. There should be some music. Just a moment. Please hold on. Am I audible now? Am I clear? Right. So, people who cannot hear me, probably they will need to check their bandwidth, because the rest of the people are able to hear me. Host, please help me out. Parag, please check your bandwidth because the other people are able to hear me. Am I audible, guys? Yes, I am audible. So people who are not able to hear me, please check your connections. Right, so I'm starting the webinar now. I'm starting the session. So yes, what we are going to talk about is, we are going to talk about the importance of the essay, techniques to write essays, and also we'll be covering some of the past year topics. Now, when it comes to the essay, and especially the essay, why it is used, the purpose of the essay, that is something which we must discuss. The purpose of the essay is, it is used in the second stage of selection to evaluate you for the second stage of selection in your XLRI and other institutes. Right, a lot of institutes will be able to access the essay this time from XLRI. So please, it does not matter in your cutoff. So the first thing which you should take out of your mind is that the cutoffs would suffer because of the essay. No, they would not. Am I audible? Because I'm getting a lot of messages which are saying I'm unable to hear you. I am audible. So people who are unable to hear me, still please check your bandwidth. That is my request, guys. Otherwise, we'll keep on wasting the time. You need to participate by saying audio conference. Please go to the toolbar menu, communicate audio conference call using computer. You will not be able to speak to me, but you will be able to chat and hear. I request all the attendees to switch off their mics, because otherwise there will be a lot of echo. If more than one mic is open, please go on to audio conferencing on the toolbar. Vikas, please do that. Venkat has given us the path. Communicate. Go to the toolbar. Put on communicate. Audio conference call using the computer. Then only would you be able to hear me. I'm starting, please, guys. Yeah, I'm proceeding, Parag. Yeah, so the purpose is very simple. You know, when you are talking about this, what is happening? It's there for evaluation in the second stage, right? So that's the most important thing. Now, what happens is your cutoffs will not be affected because of the essay. It's only when you get a call from XLRI during your interview, your essay would be evaluated. And many other institutes, apart from XLRI, might be able to access your essay, right? So it's for all the courses. Now, the most important thing is that you will get only 20 minutes to write the essay. You will get only 20 minutes to write the essay. And it will happen after your objective type test. So that's the most important thing. The disturbance in my voice is because somebody has switched on the mic. Host, please check who has switched on the mic. Otherwise, we'll keep on getting this disturbance. And also, please give them the path, how they can hear. They need to switch on their audio conference to be able to hear. Janishar, please mute your mic. Lohit, XLRI only evaluates the essay, but this year they might do it. The other institutes might even take the, if required, we are not very sure about it. Right. So now moving ahead, let's focus on essay writing. What is an essay? The first thing is, before we start the discussion on how to write an essay, let's understand what is an essay, how does it look? That's the most important thing. So, when it comes to an essay, all of you would have written an essay at some point of time or the other in your life, right? So an essay is just a collection of ideas on a given topic, right? That is very, very important. It's a collection of ideas on a given topic. And an essay explores various aspects of a given topic in a logical sequence and comes to a proper conclusion. So what is important in an essay, guys, is an essay should always have a logical sequence, right? That is very, very important. And it should always lead to some kind of a conclusion. Now, what is important about a good essay is, which has a captivating beginning, that is, the introduction of an essay should be captivating. A comprehensive body and a logical conclusion. This is very, very important. So captivating beginning, comprehensive body and a logical conclusion. Now we'll look at each of these terms. What do they mean? Still, the people who cannot hear me, please host, please help them to get on the audio. Host, are you there? Yeah, Vishwakant, I will come to your question. What about the opinion about the topic of the writer in a while? So we spoke about three important aspects of an essay, right? The three important aspects of the essay were the introduction, which comprises the main idea, the body, which comprises the supporting ideas, and the conclusion, which is the finale. Now, Somen is asking me, what is a captivating beginning? Somen, a captivating beginning, we'll look at it. Just hold your query for a while, right? I'll come to what a captivating beginning is all about. We'll discuss how to write beginnings and how to write the body. In the first round of selection, Raghavendra, there is no contribution of the essay. It's only in the second round of selection, but the weight is never ever disclosed by XLRI. They might even use it during your interviews. Right. So now when we talk about an introduction, see, an introduction is comprising the main idea. You know, an introduction should be something which starts the essay. That is the most important thing. Right. But when it starts, it should be logically connected. It should be logical. It should be relevant. That is very, very important. Body is comprising the supporting ideas. So whatever you give as a starting idea, the body is going to support that starting idea when it comes to the essay. Body is basically, you know, it will talk about all the explanation that you put over there. Conclusion is the finale. Conclusion actually is the closing of an essay. Now, is there any particular limit? Arijit is asking me. Arijit, as of now, there has been no particular limit in an essay, but what happens is, in 20 minutes, you will be able to fill only one side of the sheet, of an A4 sheet. Sachin has asked me a question that, sir, for making the introduction, can we use quotes? You can very well use quotes. Okay. Should we start the essay with a quotation and can we give examples? Now, you know, there is no right or wrong way to start the essay. Okay. The most important thing is that if you are using a quotation, you should always give the source of the quotation. Never attribute a quotation to your own self. People are saying still no action has been taken on what? On the audibility, you will have to go and get into the audio conference. Unless and until you do that, you will not be able. Career launcher host, please help me. Please help them to connect. I'm moving ahead with the session. Yes, we can very well use number statistics also in the essay. I'll come to all these questions. Just reserve them for a while. Okay, just let's go through some of the things. Let's look at the types of the essays and then we'll talk about all these questions. And then I'll also talk about what is to be done in the introduction. So I'm getting a lot of interesting questions over here. If you could hold these questions for a while, right? What to do in the introduction, Hindi, etc., etc. I'll address all of them. Essays can be of many types, guys. Some of them are descriptive in nature. Some of them would go into a comparison. They would make a contrast. Some of them would just go into describing the sequence. Some of them would be explanatory in nature. and some of them would be evaluatory in nature, right? So now before I go into the description of the each type of essays, let's look at how to introduce the topic, right? Because a lot of you have queries related to the introduction of the essay. Now, whenever we are talking about the introduction, guys, please remember one thing, that if you are using a quote, you have to use the source of the quote. Don't, write any quote and do not give it a source. Otherwise, it looks very bad. And it seems that you are the person who has made the quote, which might not actually be true. Somebody is asking me, can we use aphorisms? Aphorisms would be all your shlokas, sayings, right, anecdotes. So all of these things can be used over there. Okay. Vishwakant is asking, why not quote a quote verbatim? One can quote a quote verbatim, Vishwakant, if you give the source of the quote. It's not a great idea to start saying as the saying goes, because if you're giving a saying, you have to give it. If you are using a quote from some other language, what you will have to do is, you will have to translate the quote from some other language. How to give the source? Source means the person who has given the quote. Okay, so let's first move ahead, and then we'll look at the specific techniques. So let's look at a descriptive essay. So what is a descriptive essay? As the name suggests, a descriptive essay is something which describes, right? It is talking about a person, place, thing, or an incident, and you organize the essay by describing different parts or aspects of the main subject. That is what you do, right? Now, for example, let's look at an essay which talks about the caste system. How to go ahead with this essay? The first step, and this is one of the ways in which you can write it, you might come up with better ideas. Introduce what the caste system is. That's the most important thing, right? So, introduce what a caste system is and where all it is prevalent. So, for example, if I'm writing on the caste system, what I'll have to also keep in mind is it prevalent only in India? Or is it prevalent even outside India? Right? So, for example, just to make you aware, if I say not a very direct form of caste system, but there is a kind of a caste system that exists in the monarchy of Britain, right? So, anyone who's a non-royal, who does not come from a royal family, cannot attain the status of royalty, right? That person would not ever become the king or the queen or the princess. They will always remain duchesses and Dutch, or dukes and duchesses. That is what would happen, right? Then there are many Islamic countries also. In many Islamic countries also there is a caste system, right? India, of course, the caste system is so prevalent that all of you can write about it, right? So introduce what the caste system is. That's the most important thing. So what is happening is, describe where it still exists. That's the most important thing. Describe the way it is depicted today. Now, whether there is an acceptance of the caste system in the society, that is the most important thing, right? Also, how the society views it, right? So, view of the society on that, view of the country on that, that is very, very important when it comes to the caste system. Whether it is considered backward, is it an invisible threat to the social fabric or not? The sufferings and the pain it causes? The political imbroglio, whether, we know that in India a lot of politicians say on the caste system, but whether it is the right thing to do or it is not the right thing to do. Examples, then you should always, whenever you are writing something, you should always follow it up with examples. The destruction of villages, subjugations of the lower caste by the upper caste across the country, right? And this is not only prevalent only in India. This can be across the world, right? It can encompass everything right from the British monarchy to the Islamic State. I would request everyone to switch off their mics, please, because a lot of people who are genuinely attending it are not able to hear. Host, can you switch off the mics of the people? Now, what is also important is, when we are talking about the caste system, we should also talk about how can we merge the caste society into a class society. Now, what happens is, how the caste system originated in India, first you should describe in the first paragraph. Then you should go on talking about today how it exists, how it is viewed, and how would you take the caste society into a class society. So when we talk about a class society, we are talking about the economic class, right? We are talking about the social class, right? We are also talking about the privilege that the law accords to the population of the country, right? Family planning and sanitation can be brought in as one of the topics, right? How they can help to move away from the caste system. And we can also turn onto the aspects of what are the privileges which are accorded to the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe, or anyone who has been oppressed through centuries. So you can talk about them. Now, what is important is a summary paragraph over here. A call for greater understanding to their social plight, to the oppressed classes, right? How they have been tormented, with a better late than never message. So what is important over here, you are required to come up with a balance, right? Balance about what? A balance about how, moving away from the discrimination, we are giving privileges to the people who have been oppressed otherwise, right? So that is what we should talk about. Shashwat, I didn't understand your questions. Should descriptive essays deal with sensitive subjects objectively? See, now I would suggest that, whatever you are presenting, whether it's an objective or a subjective opinion, you have to back it up with a lot of examples, right? That is very, very important. And real life examples can be given. There is no issue in that. But the things are that examples should be well verified. That is the most important thing. There should be a complete verification of whatever you are writing over there. Grammar is very, very important. Janishar Ashraf, please switch off the mic, otherwise I'll ban you from the session. The mic is causing a lot of disturbance. Host, I would request, if he doesn't shut it up, please. Now we are coming to a different kind of an essay. Compare and the contrast essay. In the compare and the contrast essay, the most important thing is you write about the similarities and differences between two or more people, places, or things. You can organize the essay by writing about one subject first and then comparing it with the second subject. That is very, very important. Right. So what is important over here is that you highlight the positives and you highlight the negatives. Then only are you making a comparison, right? Now, for example, see, look at this topic which I decided to pick it up to give an example, whether the defense budget or the poverty eradication budget. That's the most important thing. Now, in the introduction itself, what you can do is, what is very, very important over here is, whenever you are giving the introduction to such an essay, give a hint that the conflict is going to ensue in such a topic, because you actually cannot take any particular side in such an essay, right? So that is very, very important. Use a simple language. There is no need of using high funda words or very high vocabulary. Use vocabulary which you understand, right? Which you can use very correctly. That is the most important thing. Now in a compare and contrast essay, now let's evaluate the essay. So what we said was that in the beginning you gave a hint about what is that the conflict is going to be there, right? So that is what we spoke about, that the conflict is going to ensue. After that, you have to compare the exigencies, that is the urgencies, the necessities of both areas. Now, for example, you can talk about poverty as half the country lives on less than $1 a day. India cannot afford this large divide as the vote banks promise the earth to the population, right? So that is one thing which is very, very important. Manasa, it's not a very good idea to only give in points, write in paragraphs. We cannot worry about star wars when there is hardly any food in the belly, right? So a very important point brought out in favor of the poverty eradication budget. But at the same time, what we will, we should use only 1/10 for the essay, Kasturi. Now, after that, what we should do is, we also we highlight the importance of defense needs. So why are defense needs important? Defense needs are vital to our very existence now. In the latest, if you have been reading newspapers, etc., you will find that there have been daily border issues with Pakistan, Bangladesh, and China, right? So India needs a huge defense budget also. Very recently, there was a revelation by one of the ex-army chiefs that a lot of defense budget is not utilized properly, right? So bring in all those points into the essay. And the most important thing which you should highlight over here is you should strive to achieve a preponderance, that is a balance towards an area, while assuming that the other is not sacrificed. You know, you will give some kind of a host. Can you ban him? Please do so if it is in your capacity, because he is disturbing the whole of the session. Strive to achieve a preponderance towards an area, right? So you show some kind of an inclination towards an area, but at the same time do not compromise the importance of the other area. So what is important over here is the negotiating paragraph. So what you will have to show is, you will have to show a win-win situation, right? Where you balance out everything. That is the most important thing. The balance has to be shown. And here we are saying is, make a politically correct statement. Make a politically correct statement to conclude with. That is very important. Because here you will not be able to justify the defense budget over the poverty eradication budget or vice versa. Right. So Parag, I hope that answers your question, that you might not be able to support only one thing in the conclusion. Right. So it's very, very important to have a balance. Politically correct statement in this sense, Harsh, would mean that, you know, I show an importance towards both the things. That is what I'm saying. Yeah, it could be a diplomatic statement. Politically correct. This is what we said. Politically correct, right? So the spelling mistake, just excuse me for that. Now, the third kind of an essay which you might encounter is a sequence essay. In a sequence essay, what is happening is, it's a chronology, right? It could be a chronology of events. It could be even a description in a sequence. That is what you are doing and nothing else. So, for example, you know, what you are doing is, if you are describing the economic cycle, right? So I took a topic which was related to economics, right? So, and it's a very general topic, right? When we talk about the economic cycle, so we are talking about how an economic cycle affects the economy of a particular country. So what you have to do is, you have to introduce the term economics and its relevance to the society. That's the most important thing. Now describe an economic cycle elaborately with the role of household, farm, factor of production, circulation of money, employment, and many such other issues that you see, right? Karishma, please mute your mic. You cannot be speaking. Right? And many other such issues. That's the most important thing. Now discuss the booms and depressions with special mention of the bubble economy and the IT depression. Like, you know, here I'm referring to the American concept. Now discuss related aspects of the stock exchange, whether the stock exchange is a symptom or it is a system, whether it defines a system or it's simply, one of the things which is defining something which is deeper there in the system, right? So that is what you will have to do. And then you can talk about some measures which have been introduced to control the economy. Since we were talking about the American economy, so it could be Obama measures and what the future looks like. If you were writing it in context of India, you could talk about the relevant measures taken by the RBI very recently after the coming of Raghuram Rajan, right? So you can talk about all these aspects. But here what is happening is it's simply akin to a descriptive essay, although the description which you are getting into is not a great description because you are writing about 2-3 things at the same time and then you are drawing a conclusion to it. There will be no choice in the essay. There would be only one topic, Mayank. I'm just illustrating some of the ways of writing an essay. Now the one more kind of an essay which is important is the explanatory essay. Now, in an explanatory essay, as the name suggests, what you have to do is you have to explain, right? You have to go into a detailed explanation of things, right? That is what you are doing. So what you have to do is you have to explain how or why something happens or has happened. That's the most important thing. And then you need to throw light upon the causes and the effects. You need to organize the essay by explaining each individual cause or effect. Ratnesh, if you don't understand the essay topic in XAT, nobody will tell you, so whatever comes to your mind over there, you can write. You can try asking the invigilator, but I'm highly skeptical that he'll be able to help you. We'll come to the last year's topic, Ashutosh, don't worry. Then after that, what you will have to do, you will have to write an essay explaining why, I'm saying that now the essay is, write an essay explaining why so many marriages are on the rocks, why there is a break in so many of the marriages, right? So, we can give the introduction like the situation today maybe started off with a case of divorce, explore the causes of erosion in commitment. So you can talk about the hectic lifestyle, you can talk about the compromise on the values, maybe on the lighter note, you can bring in office affairs over here. Then you can also talk about the short-sightedness of instant decisions and the futility of putting self before family, right? So you can talk about the fast lifestyle of today, right? The selfish lifestyle of today, which is leading to a break in the marriages, the lack of commitment is there. And then you also should discuss where things can be improved to make marriages last. And in the summary paragraph, you can, I've taken an example where you can talk about Hillary, how she stood by Bill Clinton in the Monica Lewinsky affair after that, right? Shivam is suddenly very, very happy. Now the last kind of an essay which you can write is an evaluatory essay. In an evaluatory essay, what you should do is you have to make judgments about people, ideas and possible actions because you are evaluating a situation. You are examining a situation, right? That is what you are doing. So you make your evaluation based on certain criteria that you develop. Organize the essay by discussing the criteria you use to make a judgment. That's the most important thing. So for example, over here, we are talking about essay evaluating the importance of the examination pattern of grading. Right, where we are not talking about assigning marks, but we are talking about assigning grades. So give your judgment on whether the prevalent evaluation system is important and indispensable. So what you are doing is you are taking a subjective but a logical opinion. That is what you are doing, right? So this is the beauty of this essay. Right. Now, moving ahead. So how we'll go about this essay? We'll go about this essay in this way. So we are going to explain the ill effects of pure academics, right? and the lack of an overall groomed personality with extracurricular activities and selfless approach, probably the narrow choice of career goals, explain the importance of case studies, field survey and life projects. Shruti, it's not necessary in every essay to take a stand, but in an evaluatory essay, because we are examining a point, so it's better that we take a stance over here. Explain how a child has to sacrifice talents at the altar of grades. Remember that teachers are evaluating this, so at that exams are important to inculcate competitive spirit and learning pattern to assimilate class inputs. Now, here what is important is the conclusion. Conclude with an overall judgment how a comprehensive evaluation system can be established, taking into account a child's excellence in fields from within and outside the classroom periphery. So what we are doing is over here, we are saying that grades are there, right? Grading in the examination is happening. So we are going against grades and we are saying that there should be an overall development of the child which should be focused upon. That is the most important thing in this sense. Your judgments or perspective will not hurt anyone's sentiments till the time you are logical. That is the most important thing, Ankit. If you give a lot of examples, they will not hurt. It's like a critical reasoning argument. Right. So, before we come to steps to writing the essay, let's just, the things which we spoke about until now were the different types in which you can present an essay, right? And it's not that, you have to take only one style. You can take any style with which you are comfortable, but see that whether it would be able to do justification to that particular type of a topic. Logic is the most important thing, Somen, over here. Right? And when we talk about logic, ethics always are logical. Yeah, it may be a perspective completely Sachin, but if I am logical, the perspective would not hurt anyone. Should we give subheadings to a paragraph? Somebody is asking. Yes, you can do that. What would be the size of the essay approximately? One side of the A4 sheet, Manasa. Kasturi, it's better not to be hypothetical unless and until the topic is such, right? Better be factual. Lohit is saying, is it okay to take names in the essay? Lohit, can you refine your question? I saw it earlier, but I could not understand the question. If you are talking about names in terms of, addressing the quotes, etc., yes, you can do that. If you are talking about names in terms of, identifying facts, you should do that. Ratnesh, you can discuss controversial elements in an essay provided you are able to justify whatever you are discussing. We'll talk about the few possible essay topics. Don't worry. Yeah, you can mention Lalu Yadav or Mr. Kalmadi, but mention them with a lot of respect. You should not use slangs over there. No scratch paper is provided for the essay. Now, what is important is when you start writing the essay, you should first organize your ideas before you even begin to write. Just don't see the topic and jump into it. When I say brainstorming, of course, you cannot talk to other people, but you should think about it. You should link facts. You should link examples, your reading and your experiences. So what is important over here is having a lot of content. Unless and until you have content, you will not be able to do justification. There is no range of words, anyone in the XAT essay, unless and until they specify it. Hindi proverbs are allowed, but you should translate them and tell them in English. You can use a whitener if you feel like, वैसे avoid using it, avoid cutting and scratching over there. Pulkit, how would you respond to something, if somebody has given you something with a lot of cuttings? You would not like it, so the examiner also would not like it. Shaunak, please post your query again. The essay can be written in any tense. You can include data and financial terms in essay. No opulent vocabulary earns any brown points unless and until you are using it correctly. Essay would be given after the objective paper. This time the GK paper would be a part of the objective paper, although it will not be evaluated for the cutoff. Should the language be complex or business-like? No, the language avoid jargon. I'm coming to all of those things. Please listen to me patiently for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, right? And then put on your questions again, please. You can use sarcasm and humor as well. You will have to write the essay with the pen. List your main idea, your supporting ideas, your facts. Write down the essay in an elaborate way with inflections of ideas, with the entire, your ideas should dominate the essay in a logical manner, and write the conclusion. That's the most important thing. So how to organize? Think about all the points, leave 4 to 5 lines in between each point, right? This is not something which you'll be doing over there, but this is something which should be happening in your mind. You can always underline the main point. GK would not be a part of your cutoffs for that. Now, after this, what is important is you should think, how do you want to introduce the topic? What are the main points you want to cover? This is very important. You might want to write a lot of things, but do not write a lot of things. Cover only the important, the salient features, and not the universe in the essay. What are the points you wish to add to support your main idea? This is also very important. The various facts, the various examples which you want to support the ideas. Once you have chosen the facts and the ideas, ask yourself in which order to put them in the essay. When you have finished, you have the basic structure for your essay and are ready to continue. So all this should be there. You should make a mental note of it, right? Because you will not get enough time to write all of this immediately. What is important is you should always put it in the form of an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Introduction would be the start of the essay. Body would be the logical continuation of whatever you have put in the start, right? Plus it would be the explanation of whatever you have put in the start. And the conclusion would be the summary or the closing statement. That is something which is very important. Ideally, Govind, there should be 3 paragraphs, but you can have more than 3 paragraphs. There is no limit to that. There is no ideal limit, Ankit, to the length of anything. Rough work, you will not get any sheet, so you'll have to organize everything in your mind. Yes, they give rule sheets, don't worry. How to write an introduction? What is important in an introduction is, first of all, it should attract the reader's attention. And it should give the essay's focus. This is something which is very, very important. And it should be an attention grabber. So what you can do is, you can put some interesting facts, you can put some anecdotes, you can put some dialogues, you can put some quotations, you can put some definitions. So these are the various ways in which you can make an introduction very, very competitive or very, very interesting. And finish the introductory paragraph with your main idea. That's the most important thing. Right, and do not deviate too much from the introduction. So whatever you are giving over there, you'll have to stick to it. Now, for example, look at this introduction. We were talking about an essay and we are talking about cricket. So one of the introductions could be something like this. Cricket has been a part of life in India for over 70 years. It has evolved into an extremely popular sport watched and played by millions of Indians. The game has gone through several changes since it was first played in India. It talks about the evolution of cricket, right? So this is what you should do. You can put a question in the introduction and you should try to answer that question. So this we have already spoken about, that you should use all of these tools, right? You can put some facts, you can put some anecdotes, right? Small sayings, small short stories, dialogues, quotations. But here very important is Give the source of the quotations. If you do not remember who has said it, put it as anonymous. Do not give your name to the introduction to the quotation, and definition so can be a part of it. Now, after this is very, very important is elaboration of the supporting ideas will give the body of the essay. Supporting paragraphs make up the main body of your essay. That is the most important thing. So now here what you are doing is you are actually getting into an explanation of the start of the main idea that you quoted in the introduction. Right. So this is what is happening in a body. Connecting the paragraphs is another very important thing. Use a lot of connectors. You know, for example, if you are listing different points, you should use connectors like first, second, third. Additional ideas, if you are giving, if you are giving an idea which is in support of something which you have said, you should give something like another, in addition to, related to, furthermore, also. Use these words in the beginning of the sentences. Counter examples, if you are bringing in a new point over there, you give however, you give even though, on the other hand, nevertheless. To show cause and effect, use words like therefore, thus, as a result of, consequently. All these words should be used. So they will show the transition which you are making from one point to another. And then comes the conclusion. In the conclusion, what happens is recapitulation of the strongest points of your essay that support your main idea. So there can be a recapitulation, right? Please elaborate connectors. Okay, I'm going back to connectors. When I'm saying is in connectors, what you should do is if you are giving some support, right? You can give 5 minutes to organizing of your thoughts. Right. For connectors, what you should do is you should talk about, if you're giving additional ideas, use all of these keywords. If you're giving counter examples, give these words, because you are changing a tone over here. Similarly, to show the cause and effect, use words like, which show the effect of something. Therefore, thus, as a result of, consequently, and things like that. Right. So I hope that is clear. Somen? Yeah. So coming back to the conclusion, restate the main idea in different words. That is very, very important. Whatever you wrote in the introduction, you can restate it in different words. You can also give a visionary statement, a suggested course of action, and it should complete your essay. There should be, something which is complete. For example, overall, the changes that occurred in cricket have helped to improve the game. Cricket is faster and more exciting as a result of changes in the past 60 years. For these reasons, modern cricket is a better game than cricket in the 1940s. So something like this you could have done. But after this, don't immediately give it. You will also have to look at various editing criteria. So just take some time and think about whether I have done all this, whether whatever I wrote was relevant. It should not be vague, right? That is the most important thing. Whatever I wrote followed a logical sequence, right? Did I analyze? Did I make judgments? Did I explain cogently my position to others? So there should be no loose ends. That's the most important thing. And knowledge is also very important. Factual knowledge by itself will not make a good essay. No satisfactory argument can be presented without reference to the facts in the question, right? So what is important is your opinion is required. Opinion is more important than merely stating the facts over here, right? And try not to bring in the examples over there, right? So that's the most important thing, right? Any questions at this point you have? Please ask. Then I'll move on to the criteria for good English. So no questions, I'm moving ahead. So what is the criterion for a good essay? One is English. This is very, very important. Okay, there are some questions that have come. So before moving on to criterion, Shaunak is saying, why is my query not seen? Shaunak, what is your query, please? Again, can you type it? I'm sorry, I might have missed it. Let me answer some of these questions. I have a lot of questions. Can the essay be written in form of an article? For example, can I question the reader or put my own experiences? Avoid doing that, Shaunak. Take an objective outlook. You can even take a subjective outlook, but avoid first-person narrative. I'll answer all the questions right in another 5 minutes. So just be patient and let's look at probably at the criterion of a good essay. English is one of the most important criterion, right? So the language which you are using is very important. See, concern is not with the style or the beauty of the language, but with clear and accurate expression. That is the most important thing. You should be lucid enough. You should be simple enough when you are giving your ideas, right? That's the most important thing. You should have correct grammar, the correct usage of words, paragraph structure, spelling and punctuation. This is very important. Check your spelling and grammar. I know a lot of you might be struggling on this field, but there's no escape from it. The flow, the connecting flow of the sentences from one sentence to another. And remember, it should always have these three things: introduction, the body, and the conclusion. There should be paragraphs. Okay, so avoid jargon. You know, we'll take a simple essay, for example. A dog is a man's best friend. So start with a saying. Despite what dog lovers may believe, cats make excellent house pets. So I'm taking against the topic over here. Right. So then we write the sample paragraph over here. In the first place, people enjoy the companionship of cats. Many cats are affectionate. So we are going against the dog, but we are giving a lot of examples about the cat over here. Then we give another example. We said in the second place, cats are civilized members of the household. Unlike dogs, cats do not bark or make other loud noises. So we are quoting facts over here. Right, we are talking first about the people enjoying the companionship of cats. We are talking about cats being civilized members of the household. We are going on elaborating upon everything over here. And then what we'll do is, we will put the last point over here. And in the last point, we'll say one of the most attractive features of cats as house pets is the ease of care. So cats do not have to be walked. Cats also take care of their grooming. See, you see, I've underlined all the important points over here. In addition, cats can be left home alone for a few hours without fear. Cats are low maintenance, civilized companions, right? So what we said was, the essay was asking us whether dogs are the men's best friend. We instead turned the tide and we said, no, cats are the men's best friends, right? We spoke about how cats can be helpful when we keep them in our household. We'll come to all these topics now. Before that, let me address all the queries. Akshay has asked me, can I conclude with a Kohra proverb? Yes, Akshay, you can do that. Sareen has asked me, can we present someone's idea similar to a proverb and accept and elaborate on that idea? Sareen, yes, you can do that, but avoid doing it too often. Right. Someone's idea is similar to see, there is a difference. Proverb is something which is widely accepted, and someone's idea might only be a fleeting thought. Manasa has said, while editing, if we realize that we have to tweak it at some places. If you have to tweak it, Manasa, while editing, avoid a lot of cutting. You know, that's why I'm saying that take 5 minutes to organize all your thoughts, whatever you would want to write. So you will have to practice a lot, guys. And now there are only 2 days left. So I don't know how are you going to do that. But don't fear. What you need to do is you need to just, organize your thoughts in your mind. Kasturi is saying to avoid sounding arrogant or I know all types, should we prefer phrases like we never know that what lay ahead instead of you never know. It's always better, Kasturi, to write an essay in the third person narrative rather than in the first or the second person narrative. I hope that answers your question. Personal experiences as facts, avoid doing them. But if you are bereft of ideas, then you'll have to resort to it. What should be our approach in last 2 minutes? If we run short of time, then you'll have to in any ways complete the essay, right? So I would suggest that organize your time well. Handwriting is an important aspect, Sai. You cannot avoid it. But in the next 2 days, you cannot do much about it. So live with whatever you have. Because see, this can be a great put off for a person in an interview panel, right? Paris, you can take a one-sided scenario also. There is no issue, but it should be logical. Yes, it's very, very important to give examples, Chetna. I will throw light on the probable topics in a while, right? Don't worry. Can the essay be written in the form of an article? That is what we have already answered. Avoid cutting, Vikas, under any circumstances. Therefore, organization is the most important thing over here. Shaunak, if you don't have factual data, then don't quote data. Use opinion.
Yes.
Don't use acronyms unless and until they are widely accepted. You can use, right? But do not use something like PEST. Bad writing is not a hindrance, but it can be a put off. When a quote is given, try to, interpret the quote, give your interpretation of the quote, and then start writing. Now, questions are getting repetitive. Yes, Govind, you can definitely underline. Nilesh, you are typing the same question again and again. You can take any stand, be it neutral or subjective, but it has to be logical. See, avoid using a change in narrative or tenses, right? Try to follow a single tense and a single narrative as far as possible. All the IIMs would give you a WAT exercise, but we'll talk about it later. Let's focus on XLRI today. In the second stage of selection through that, we do not know as of now which other schools would take the essays. Through that, XLRI definitely does. Arijit, I hope I answered your question. First of all, try to interpret the quote, give the interpretation of the quote, and then try writing on it. Yes, you can underline there also. If you do not know anything, Rahul, then you are in a soup, right? Try to write whatever comes to your mind. In abstract topics, at least you'll be able to do that. A simple breakup of time would be you'll be given 20 minutes. Out of those 20 minutes, take 5 minutes to think. A captivating beginning, Ayush, is something which will attract the attention of the reader. It can be in the form of an anecdote. It can be in the form of a quotation. It could be in the form of very well quoted facts. Pulkit, you can do that, right? You can make a conclusion in the subjective way in case of an evaluatory essay also. But because what you have done is in the beginning only you have said that a conflict is going to ensue, so it's better to give a neutral stand. But otherwise, if you want to go with a subjective stand and if you have a lot of data and a lot of substance on that, you should go ahead. In the data, it's not mandatory to mention the source Astha, but the data should be factually correct. If you can mention the source, there's nothing like it. Shaunak avoids personal experiences as far as possible. No, Chetna, that should not be a problem as long as your handwriting is neat. Pulkit has asked a very interesting question. He's saying, what if a poem is asked as a topic, then what should be the strategy, sir? Pulkit, if poem is asked as a topic, I'll have to interpret the poem, right? And then I'll have to write an essay on it. However, until now, it has not happened. So don't worry. It can at worst be 2 or 3 lines or a stanza from a poem. The essay can be anything, yeah. It can be neutral, it can be objective, it can be subjective, it can be critical, right? But provided you do justice to whatever you are writing. No punctuation errors would not deduct marks, but do not misuse punctuation. You can mention approximate figures, Rajesh Chintamani. You'll get 20 minutes. Yes, they take away the OMR sheets before giving the essay sheets. You can take a white marker, but try not to get into a lot of cutting, etc. Adip Kathayat. What is your question? Can you retype it, please? Personal views are not recommended. Please don't give personal views, Arindam. You will get all the instructions, Parag, about the OMR over there itself. They have asked to carry 2 ballpoint blue or black ballpoint pens in the admit card. If you read, the instructions are given very, very carefully. Right. So now, if you look at the essay topics of the last years, and let's try to analyze them, Gender imbalance would lead to a third world war. That was the topic in 2008. So a very general topic. I believe all of you can write on this. Economic growth without environmental damage, a mirage or a reality, 2007. India has one of the largest pools of talented manpower but few innovations and patented products. That 2006. More than 1 billion Indians, a gigantic problem or a set of opportunities. Population, is it a problem? Is it a boon or a bane? Then look at this 2004 topic. Asked at the age of 83 as to which project he would choose as his masterpiece. Right, this guy said, my next one. To give real service, one needs to add something that cannot be brought or measured, like sincerity and integrity. So if you look at the topics, you need not fear the topics which are asked. Right, they are very, very general topics. Right. Even if you look at the recent topics, which spoke about, there was a treatise of Adam Smith which was quoted. Right, a line from Adam Smith was quoted. Then there was 2004 topic. See, here he is talking about that, yet he is striving for excellence. He has not achieved something. He's still looking at some better achievement in his life. And look at the zest of life he has. At the age of 83, he is doing that. That is the interpretation of the topic. Possible topics for this year, somebody is asking me. That's a good question. See, whatever has been happening in the world as of now, a topic can come from there. Because if you, if you looked at the past year topics, you would have figured out one thing, that everything was very, very current, right? This year they might give you any topics, related to what is happening with the rise of AAP, the Aam Aadmi Party, right, or corruption in politics. That can be one thing, right? It could be Iran, US, nuclear deal, nuclear agreement rather, right? It can be Article 377 of the Indian Penal Code, homosexuality, right? It could be something like Article 370 of the Constitution of India. It could be about match fixing, right? It could be about Sachin Tendulkar also. So anything, we really cannot predict what would come. But you should, have a lot of information about all these things. Yes, safety of women, Anshul, that can be one of the very well topics. Somebody is asking me that if we get a topic on economics and we do not know anything about it, see, even if you look at the past year topics of economics, they were not economic, right? It said economic growth without environmental damage, a very general topic. How to tackle an abstract topic? This is a good question, Sonak. See, ideally what I would do with an abstract topic is, unless and until, it is very abstract, I would try to relate it to something which is currently happening in the world. Something which is understood by people. Like, for example, if I were to write on Frank Lloyd Wright, that is the topic of XAT 2004, what I would do is, I would talk about the striving of humanity in many areas where they strive for excellence, or the striving by the developed nations, or even the developing economies, how they want to go away, how they want to, go away from their imbecilities, and they want to achieve something great. That is something which I would do. Lohit Agarwal, an abstract topic was this. Please do not give your expert opinion. Siddharth, corruption related topics, few pointers about corruption could be, you can see corruption, it's not only in terms of economic corruption, it could be moral turpitude, right? Where people, even the general populace of the country, believes in bribing people, or, the safety of women is one thing which has come to your, sexual harassment has come to your forefront, right? Child molestation is there. So it is all moral turpitude. Somebody has asked me, Dinesh is asking me, will the 2005 topic come under the compare contrast? Yeah, very definitely it would. Right, you can give both the sides. You can take a middle path also. Parag, you can use a different thing. Don't worry. You can mention political parties, but please mention everything with a lot of respect. Natural disasters in India. See, Stockholm Syndrome, Shivam, comes from a bank robbery that happened in Stockholm, right, where two girls were captivated they were kidnapped, right, and they fell in love with their own captors. So you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that your captor is someone with whom you fall in love with. That is the Stockholm Syndrome. Do we get to take home the question paper? Yes, you get to take home the question paper, but not the XAT essay topic. Unless and until it is mentioned in the question paper. If we do not have proper idea about politics, then how can we deal? See, Chetan, need not fear. All the topics would be very, very general. They can come from these areas, but all of us are grown-up individuals who've been reading newspapers, etc. So something or the other would come to our mind, right? So you write whatever comes to your mind. That's the most important thing. It's your opinion. Second topic is also compare and contrast. The inherent vice of capitalism is unequal sharing of blessing, and the inherent virtue of socialism is equal sharing of misery. Please help on the topic. Here, you need to be specific, and you have to have some idea about what capitalism is and what socialism is. Had I been writing this essay, what I would do is we will talk about the comparison of America and India. India at one point in time was a socialist economy. America was a capitalist economy, right? So we are saying that unequal sharing of blessing and the inherent virtue of socialism is equal sharing of misery. So you can talk about India's of the 1960s and 70s, and you can compare America of today or even of the 1970s, 80s, 90s, right? So this much of understanding you have to have, Akanksha, right? Or you can even talk about consumerism, how it robs off, and at the same time when everything is government controlled, how many people suffer because of the want of licenses and many other things to start their businesses or even to get simple works done in a society, in a country, right? So you can write on all these aspects. If I have no idea at all of the words used in the topic, Mudit, this is a catch-22 situation, right? So in a catch-22 situation, what would you do? You can take a chance to ask the invigilator, but I don't know how much of help he would be to you. Sareen Kumar is saying, Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed. So talk about the depletion of the environmental resources which you see. Talk about consumerism. Talk about the current situations. Right. No, that essay is not used for your cutoff. It will be only in your same stage. Jaisima has given me something interesting. The statesman who should attempt to direct private people in what manner they ought to employ their capital would not load himself with the most unnecessary attention, but assume an authority which could safely be trusted to no council or senate, whatever, and which would nowhere be so dangerous in hands of a man who had folly and presumption enough to fancy himself fit to exercise it. See, for this again is a very general topic, although it's a line which is taken from Adam Smith's work, right? So what we are talking about here, we are talking about the statesman who should attempt to direct private people in what manner they ought to employ their capitals, would not load himself with the most unnecessary attention, but assume an authority which could safely be trusted to no council or senate, whatever, and which would nowhere be so dangerous in hands of a man who had folly and presumption enough to fancy himself fit to exercise it. Now, what he's talking about what capitalism can do to the world, right? So that is what he's talking about. What about Zat GK Udyot? Zat GK would be one of the, questions would be there and they would be evaluated only in the second stage, not in the first stage. They are not for the cutoff. Yeah, Shashank, if you have mentioned 2-3 different scenarios, it's always advisable to close all of them. We do not know how many marks the essay is for Devika. I cannot answer your question, sorry. Arijit, this topic is very interesting which you have sent me. The atom bombs are piling in the factories, the police are prowling through the streets, cities, the lies are screaming from the loudspeaker, but the earth is still going round the sun. Despite so much of misery, despite so much of danger, the world moves on. That is what it talks about. Yeah. Shaunak, I don't know. I don't go by, urban legends. Right. They might ask you your essay, you might comment on your essay, on everybody's essay also. So we do not know, what is the criteria for the panelists. It might have happened with a particular panel. Arinjoy is asking, are you for or against type topics? Is it okay to take the middle path? Yes, you can do that. Provided you provided you justify both the things. Subrant, ST didn't consider essay while the interview. They might. They might. I don't know. Yeah, GK is not for your cutoff, Tejasvi. Please understand. No cutoffs in GK. There is no minimum word expectancy. It depends upon how succinctly or how beautifully you can, present your idea. You can use points, but try using paragraphs more often than you use points. Sareen, are you asking me to write an essay on democracy and development going through together smoothly? This is an evaluatory essay. Or, why can't they go together? They can go together. You have seen the case of India. You have seen the case of America. Cheta, you can answer the question either in the body or the conclusion. India in 2050, so you think about it, Pulkit. Srihari, what are you saying? Your classroom classes, your webinars, informative. Thank you. Thank you, Srihari. Thanks for the comment. Sareen, what is this? No. What are you trying to ask me? They can go together, my dear friend. Or you can even say they might not go together. If you can take an example of Russia, for example, that Russia was during the time of Stalin. You can talk about that also. But, whatever you talk about, you should have a lot of examples. That's the most important thing. Subran, GK is not evaluated unless and until you clear your cutoffs. If you have only general information related to the topic, still mention that general information. Of course, you might, the panelist might ask you, why don't you give data, etc., or he might quiz you on data. So that's a different thing. Try not to score negative, etc. in GK. Do only those questions which you know of. But it is not evaluated for your cutoff. China, Shweta, is not, it's a kind of a socialist economy, right? It's a state-controlled device, although capitalism is gaining control over there, but most of the things are controlled by the government still. Don't be vague while mentioning results of surveys. If you're quoting a survey, mention the approximate, you can give approximate statistics, right? But do not give wrong statistics. So an example would be like this year we estimate only a below 5% GDP growth in the country, right? So I cannot say that the GDP growth rate in percentage GDP growth rate of India would be 8%. If I quote that would be incorrect. The video for decision making would have been uploaded. If it is not, it should be uploaded by tonight. I think so. Chetna, avoid writing your personal opinion, even in abstract topics. Try to, relate it to something which can be understood by everyone. When I say which can be understood by everyone, try to relate it to some common happenings in the world around you. Thank you, Asta. Thank you for the compliment. Tejasvi, if you do not know who said what, and you still want to use a quotation, use the word anonymous over there. Again, I'm getting the repetitive question from Shweta, which I think I have answered. Abbreviations, use of acronyms and abbreviations. If they are widely accepted acronyms like the WHO, the World Health Organization, or UN, use them. But do not use words like fair, so they should not be used. Avoid SMS language, guys. Vijaya M is saying, when GK gets evaluated in the second stage, do they expect us to answer any minimum number of GK questions? Vijaya, I have no clue about this because Excel has never ever disclosed this thing. Try to do only those questions which you are comfortable doing. So avoid doing questions which you are not comfortable, right? So let's be on the safer side. Anand, yes. Quote the source, please. Madhu, avoid using a pencil. Use a pen, right? And if you think you need to carry a fountain pen, do that. Unless and until it is written that you have to write it with a ball pen. Govind, when we talk about the Lokpal bill, what you can do is you can present two perspectives. You can present the perspective of the creation of Lokayuktas and the passing of the Lokpal bill by the parliament, and you can also take the stance of what Anna Hazare is on the Lokpal bill or what Arvind Kejriwal was on the Lokpal bill, right? So I hope you are reading newspapers that would come to you. Chetna, thank you for the compliment again. Siddhika, other colleges might consider, right? Because I was reading an article in the Hindu. It said that this year XLRI is going to share your essays and GK with the other colleges. But we do not know which colleges would do that because they have not declared as now. If you don't have a factual example related to the topic, I would suggest that you use a general opinion over there. Don't let it go blank, but don't give a wrong fact. Akshay, try to at least gain around 1/3 of the marks in QA and verbal. Okay, do that because there might be differential marking, so you do not know. Karan is asking me, France would be imposing a tax of 50% on high income groups. Can this be taken as an example of inequality? Yes, you can justify it, but you will have to show why is it unequal. That is more important. Shashank, this is one of the fears which you are having, so don't worry. You quote whatever you can over there. Give a opinion, but don't give a personal experience. Avoid giving a personal experience. That is what I'm saying. Last minute tips for GK should be very simple. Just revisit your Management Compass magazine once again. Right. In the other sections, what should I enlighten you? I would suggest that avoid negative marking. That is the most important thing. And try not to exceed the time. If I were to take the test, I would not give more than 20, 25, 30 minutes in each of the sections. You can give whatever opinion you have on the Tehelka scam. Don't worry. Your personal opinion is not going to be held against you as long as it is logical. That is the most important thing. Neelam is asking me which section should I attempt first. Neelam, it completely depends upon your strength area. If you are strong in quant, do it. If you are strong in RC, that is verbal, do it, decision making, whatever. Avoid negative marking. That's the most important thing. Rahul, they might not give you a very specific topic like the general sales tax. They might give you a topic on taxes, but they might not specify on general sales tax. Okay? Avoid using different color pens to write each paragraph. You can use different color pens to underline. But don't use a lot of colorful pens, okay? Otherwise, it will look very jazzy over there. Individual sections in that is what I said, Subhashri, that let's try and focus, not exceeding time limit of 20-25 minutes. So now the questions are getting repetitive. What I'm doing is I'm leaving my email ID with all of you, right? In case of any suggestions, etc., which you want to give, right? Or ask any specific queries, you can always scribble on this email ID. What happened to the pen? Okay, I'm writing my email ID. It's NISHANT, Nishant. There's a dot in between. Then it's PANT@careerlauncher.com. Right. Anshul, sorry, somebody was asking me something. Subran, GK cutoff is not considered for GK marks inclusion in total. See, only for XLRI as of now we know, right? So they might use the marks for evaluating you. They would, right? So you will have to try and maximize your scores over there as well, but not included in the cutoffs. Right, so this is my email ID, guys. In case you have any doubts, etc., please feel free to write. So thank you very much and all the best. I hope all of you rock on 5th of January. People taking XAT in the northern part of the country, be well dressed. It's very cold over here, right? Be well hydrated, eat a lot of good breakfast before you go to the examination. And then we'll see you on a webinar on the XAT day itself, which will be taken by Gautam Puri, right? So we'll see you there. Thank you and all the best and good night. Host, please close the session. Thanks a lot.